Hello and welcome back to Small Caps. My name is Jess Holland and joining me today is the Managing Director of Astral Resources, Mr. Marc Ducler. The ASX ticker code is AAR. Hi Marc, welcome.
Hi Jess, thank you very much for having us on.
Great. So now, Marc, the company's just put out an announcement on a positive scoping study for your flagship Mandilla Gold project in WA. What are the key takeaways of the study?
Look, I guess this scoping study for us has been not so much in preparation for 3 and a bit years, but it's something we've been working towards for 3 and a bit years. And each iteration of the resource that we have put out, we've basically put it through our financial model to get a sense of where the scale was at and at what point would we be able to put out that study. And the scoping study that we put out yesterday is effectively several iterations of work to get us to this point. And what we're looking for was something that actually just had the scale to be able to robustly pay back its debt and generate some real value for shareholders. And that's where we've ended up today with a project that mines for 8 years, processes high grade for close to 8 years, and then has 3 and a bit years worth of low grade production at the tail end and generating some significant financial metrics off what's effectively a pretty reasonable gold price assumption for revenue.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So now just talking about, the strong financial metrics, what are the key drivers of those financial metrics?
So we've used $2,750 for the revenue assumption. The gold price today would be just under $3,000. So there's certainly a fair bit of upside there. When you look at the way the price has tracked, it hasn't been below $2,750 since March of this year. And in fact, I think it's only been under 2,900 for about 30 days of the last 180 days. So a really conservative revenue assumption. The mining, which represents probably 61% of our cost base, that's been done to a really high level of detail. I mean, the geotech meets feasibility level detail. The mine design and scheduling is also feasibility level of detail. The pricing was done independently by AMC consultants, and that would certainly support a pre-feas level of detail. So that really does drive some solid conservatism, and that's what's yielded all-in sustaining cost of $1,650. That's $740 million worth of free cash flow, an internal rate of return of 73%, and a payback of that $190 million of pre-production capital. That payback happens within 9 months of first gold production. So yeah, some really solid financial metrics.
Yeah, fantastic. So now moving from financial metrics, how does the Mandilla Gold Project sort of compare to other gold projects in the Goldfields region, in your opinion?
Very much in my opinion, and not at all biased. So certainly within Goldfields, let's say if we go from Mandilla and we go 100 kilometres in every direction of Mandilla, there's only 2 projects that are bigger scale than Mandilla. One of them is the Super Pit, and I'm happy to come second or third to that. And the other one is Red Hill, which is a deposit that's owned by Northern Star next to Kanowna Belle. And I think their plan is to actually truck that into KCGM, although I'm not 100% certain. So they're the only 2 deposits that are bigger than Mandilla, and specifically Thea as a 1 million ounce deposit in a single open pit. So I suggest we compare really, really well. And certainly when you think about how mature that area is, we've been exploring and mining gold in that Kalgoorlie, Kambalda region for over 120 years, and near surface open pit deposits of the scale of Mandilla they're just very rare. And because they're very rare, I think they're exceptionally valuable.
Interesting. Okay, so now let's talk about the specifics of the mineralization. So how does Astral Resources plan to manage the risk of inferred mineralization in the production schedule?
I think the single asset developers historically have probably not gone as well as we would have liked them to go. So yeah, unfortunately, there's some pretty poor stories of late, and we're obviously putting a lot of effort into that, and we've started right at the start from the mineral resource estimate. We've gone to certainly a consultancy that we believe is top of their game, and we've gone to one of the principals within that consultancy who is an expert at these types of deposits and very much an expert in the modelling techniques of localised uniform conditioning and multiple indicator kriging and all this sort of geological magic that I won't pretend to understand. So we've gone to who we believe are the best in their field for doing those estimations. And to give you a little bit of example, so if we talk about one of those peers that potentially wasn't that successful, when they went into administration, they went to the exact consultancy that we went to, and they went to the exact principal that we've gone to. And that's what the administrators did to see if they could recapitalise that mine. And we looked at that and went, well, if that's who the bankers' favourites, if that's who the bankers are going to, well, we'll go to the bankers' favourite. And so right at that primary level of the resource estimate, I think we've tried to go as conservative as we can. I mean, even now with the scoping study, with the July 2023 resource estimate, we have hit that 70% indicated, 30% inferred. And during the debt repayment period, so which realistically at the moment could be as little as 9 months, but even over the first 3 years of the project, we're averaging 80% of that material is indicated. So I think that's suitably de-risked for a scoping study level. And then as we move into pre-feasibility and then definitive feasibility, there's a number of things that we want to do. One of them will be a conditional simulation exercise on drill hole density analysis to understand what is the drill hole density we need to get to measured. So there's a lot of things we will do to ensure that we are not one of those stories that disappoints. We're just simply not going to be one of those outcomes.
Okay, interesting. Now, another specific question for you, Marc. Why is the 2.5 million tonnes per annum CIL processing plant the optimum commercialization strategy for the Mandilla Gold Project?
Well, I guess there's a little bit of flexibility. You can flex that number up and down. We've looked at mining fleet sizes and looked at mining fleet sizes and then looked at matching the mining fleet to the process plant size, and then you just look at the available space you have in the mine. So when you go through the detailed design, you go from optimization to detailed design. At the detailed design stage, you've got to look at all these unique shapes that the pit optimizer creates that you go, well, you just can't actually practically mine that. So then you have to make some adjustments. Then you got to put in appropriate two-way ramp access. So if it's 180 ton trucks, you got to put 30 meter wide ramps in, etc. So there's a whole heap of work that we do to get to that sort of point of being ready to go. Yeah.
Now, moving away from sort of the resources side of things, looking at exploration upside, what are Astral Resources' plans to explore the Mandilla deposit and the nearby Feville gold project?
So at Mandilla, we have certainly over the last two resource estimates spoken about the fact that we've been adding ounces at about $17 an ounce from a discovery cost perspective, which is really quite cost effective. And our intention at Mandilla is to continue that sort of cost effective exploration, obviously for as long as we can. Now, it does get harder as you start to pick off the low-hanging fruit and you start thinking about where else you can extend that mineralization. But we've been doing it quite successfully for some time now, and we plan to keep that going. And we have 3 drill rigs on site at the moment. So an air core rig doing some work testing for southeast extensions of the EOS Paleo channel, the RC rig doing infill at Thea. It's done some pre-collars for the diamond drilling, and there's a fresh rock resource at EOS, and we really need to try to understand the orientation of that. So there's an RC program doing that. And then the diamond drilling started, I think, pretty much the 10th of this month, and we're actually testing for extensions at depth at Thea. So really confident about our ability to continue to grow Mandilla. And then at Camperman, which is the Feville gold project, we've actually had some exceptional results this year. I mean, we've only drilled 9 holes. We went and did a program at Feville in December of 2022, and that rolled into January 2023. And that was our first drilling at Feville in 3 years. And Camperman was one of the targets that we tested with 1 diamond hole. We got 10 meters at close to 5 grams. I'm going to be rounding off a little bit because I haven't got the numbers in front of me. So then we did another 8-hole RC program there in August, and we've recently reported 4 meters at 95, 30 odd meters at 2.2, 21 meters at 4 grams, a couple of 8 meters at 5 and stuff. So we've actually got 4 of the 9 holes came back with plus 50 gram intersections. So that Camperman now is a genuine exploration target for us with some real potential to generate high grade. And Camperman, which is at Feville, is only 50 kilometers from Mandilla. So if you think about how much gold you have to give away to truck it there, it's at the current gold price, it's only 0.1 of a gram. So you don't have to give too much of it away to get it to Mandilla. And when I look at the mining schedule at Mandilla, looking at the feed bins that we have in the scoping study where we produce high grade, medium grade, low grade, and then mineralized waste, there's this real opportunity for that Camperman material to basically displace low grade and mineralized waste, which is sort of like the 0.5 gram material. And we can start displacing that from year 3 in the schedule. And we're processing for close to 11 years. So any of that high grade that we find, whether it's at Feville or extensions at Mandilla, will have an order of magnitude impact on what are already some pretty solid scoping study financials.
Yeah, fantastic. And at Feville in particular, you know, those are some pretty shallow, high-grade intercepts. So that could feed really beautifully into what you guys are doing already with Mandilla.
Absolutely. And also, we haven't actually done a resource estimate at Feville the entire time we've been here. And the drill hole database does have over 50,000 meters of drilling in there. And we're of the view that there's the opportunity for a couple of near surface deposits that would be pretty good grade, that would absolutely truck to Mandilla. And now we've got this Camperman target that we are very keen to go back and drill, and we will probably be drilling that again before the end of this year.
Sure, brilliant. So plenty of blue sky opportunity on the exploration front. Now, Marc, I have a sort of an ESG question for you, and that is how Astral Resources will ensure that your Mandilla gold project in particular is operated in a sustainable and responsible manner. What steps you're taking at this stage?
So Mandilla is already a historically disturbed site because there's a small paleo channel system there that was mined in 2006-7. It's destocked station land, so there's actually been quite a lot of vegetation degradation because of livestock that's been through that area. We've done the flora and fauna surveys, and we have highlighted in the study that the original development footprint that we were considering way back in 2020, given the scale we have at Mandilla, we actually know that we need to extend that footprint. So we need to come back and do some further flora and fauna studies. But in terms of priority flora and priority fauna, there's certainly nothing there that's critical, that is at risk. I mean, there was a particular butterfly that was potentially of a concern. Of all things, we needed to go look for a particular sugar ant, because if you find the sugar ant, then there's a high chance that the butterfly is going to be there. It's hard to imagine. Hard to imagine, but that was the case. Yeah.
It's amazing what you find when you go through, you know, even your environmental studies when they come up. It's just amazing what funny little animals and rare, you know, fauna and flora is out there. It's just bizarre.
So we went surveying for this particular sugar ant, and fortunately enough for us, we weren't able to find any. So it clears it from that perspective. We still need to do waste characterization. We need to do tailings characterization. There's a number of things that we need to do. And look, my sense is that the regulatory regime here and the industry generally is for the most part interested in doing the right thing, and you're actually sort of forced down that path. I mean, look, we house our people in Kambalda, we rent our yard from Kambalda, we do all of our shopping at the local shops there. So look, we're very mindful. We service all our vehicles in the industrial area there, so we're very mindful of returning. But all the expenditure we do is concentrated within Kambalda, and and all of our suppliers come out of Kalgoorlie. So we certainly make sure that the money that we're putting into the ground, and both our drilling contractors are Kalgoorlie-based drilling contractors. So there's certainly strong community support, and even to the extent when we move towards that final investment decision, our intention is to house our much larger workforce in the community of Kambalda. So that'll be whether people want to live in town, in which case we'll support them with housing. If they're living in a fly-in, fly-out situation, well, there's actually a camp already in Kambalda and the capacity to extend that sort of accommodation. So I think we'll certainly have community support. From a chemical perspective, we don't have any deleterious elements. So it's actually going to be a very clean gold operation, if we can go that far as to call gold operations clean. And we have signed on for some additional ESG governance, which we will look to start to introduce in the subsequent annual reports. Not so much for the 2023 one that'll come out in the next week, but as we report our annual performance this time next year, there'll certainly be a commitment to ESG that will be flowing through, and we will be judging ourselves against a World Economic Forum standard with respect to that as well.
Yeah, brilliant. That's, well done, Marc. I think it's very encouraging for investors to hear that, particularly now. It's always good to, be invested in companies that are not only doing great things, but are doing great things in the right way. So, yeah, lots to do, but it sounds like you guys are on the right track.
Yeah, appreciate that.
So just one last question for you, Marc, and that is if you could just provide our small caps audience 2 or 3 key takeaways from our discussion as to why they should invest in Astral Resources potentially.
Okay, well, look, I think as a team, this team has the capacity to do exceptionally good quality technical work to generate those studies. So the disclosure in our scoping study would arguably meet the requirements for the most part for a pre-feasibility. In fact, as I said, the geotech and the mining is done potentially to a DFS level. We have that capability. We're focused on doing good technical work. This entire team was previously running Egan Street Resources, and we were taken out by Silver Lake Resources just prior to getting to financing for that project. And a competent mid-tier gold producer doesn't part with $70 million at the time to buy something if it's not done to a good technical level of work. And it's the same team that is doing that good quality technical level of work here at Mandilla. So I think potential investors should feel very comfortable that there isn't any smoke and mirrors in this company. Then you think about the deposit Mandilla and its location. And as I've said, you just simply don't get these sorts of large-scale projects in this area anymore. So it is valuable, it is rare. I almost guarantee you that Mandilla goes into production, and as a management team, we're going to be focused on making sure that as that goes into production, that generates tremendous value for our shareholders. And then you just looking at the metrics, I would argue this would be, certainly given our market capitalization, this is one of the better scoping studies that's come out in this junior gold space for some time. I mean, a really solid payback, great internal rate of return, good cash flow generation, competitive all-in sustaining costs in what is a pretty inflationary environment. So I think there's some really good reasons for shareholders to want to get involved, or investors. And we've still got tremendous upside to just make this thing better and better as we continue to drill.
Yeah, brilliant, Marc. I think just to summarize, so you've got, the key technical expertise, super transparent on everything, tier 1 jurisdiction in WA, very large scale, which is rare now, and huge exploration upside still to come. So thank you so much, Marc, for coming on the show, and good luck with your exploration efforts coming up, and we'll hopefully have you back on the show soon.
No worries. Thanks very much. Looking forward to it.